Hey guys, and welcome back to the Sonic Historical Marathon, or should I say, welcome to the end of the Sonic Historical Marathon. No games are being played in this episode, however, I wanted a final kind of retrospective part of the series to end it all, you know, kind of commentary and stuff like that. So basically this video is going to be split into two sections. The first section, I'm going to be reflecting on all the games that I've played throughout this marathon, kind of give my final stance on what I think about all of them. And then the second half is going to be solely based on where I see Sonic going in the future, or rather, really, what I want Sonic to be in the future, and talking about the 25th anniversary game and stuff like that. Before I do any of that, however, I'd want to thank a couple people. I want to thank Super, or Retro Super as his Twitter handle is now. He's a fellow friend of mine that I've met on YouTube. He's really good with art and digital art, traditional stuff like that. And he's the one who made the logo for the Sonic Historical Marathon, and a damn good logo it is. It certainly would not look as good as if I tried to do it, so personal thank you to him. Go follow him at Retro Super on Twitter. It used to be just Super, but now I think it's Retro Super, so yeah, go follow him. Another couple people I want to thank are some of my real-life friends that I know. My friend Chris, he let me borrow his Nintendo Wii to, you know, cover... if not for him, I would not have been able to cover all the Wii games. And, you know, I probably could have bought one myself, but he made it possible so that I did not have to do that, so that is great. He lent his Wii U to me as well. I actually didn't end up using it, because if you go check my Twitter, the fucking Sonic Lost World disc didn't even read on it, which was fan-fucking-tastic. But he lent it to me either way, so thank you to that for, you know, for making that, possible for me to play the Wii game, or the Wii U game, even though it didn't work. I want to thank my friend Marshall. He lent me his copy of Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed, which is one of the only Sonic PS3 games that I don't own, actually. And I also want to thank my wonderful and caring and loving girlfriend. She's been very understanding with the whole marathon thing, you know, like, oh, I'm gonna go home and record several fucking Sonic games to do this thing on my channel. But she's not only been so understanding, she's been incredibly supportive, and I couldn't ask for someone better in my life, so thank you, and London, I love you very much. And finally, I want to thank everyone that's been watching the entire series up to this point. You know, if it wasn't for you guys, there wouldn't be any point to be making these videos, because a big part of making content like this is just so it can be viewed. And I'm not saying I did all of this just for, you know, the views and stuff like that, but it's a fun concept, and I wanted to kind of experience it with you guys, and have you guys experience me playing all the games chronologically kind of with me. Okay, so starting with the first game that started it all, Sonic the Hedgehog 1 for the Genesis. Honestly, there's not much that I can say about this game that I haven't already said. It's a classic. If you're a Sonic fan and you haven't played it, then really you gotta play it. It's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like a mark on your being a Sonic fan. It's like you gotta play the original game, and with it being on so many different platforms and ways to play it, you really don't have an excuse. So Sonic 1 on the Master System, you know, it's not bad, but I certainly would never really go out of my way to play it. It's an interesting little game for what it is, but I think it just exists because there was a Master System and it was another thing to put Sonic on. Sonic Eraser, yeah, that is fucking horrible. I'm pretty sure the story behind that game is that it was like Sega had this like internet service thing where you could get games online on your Genesis or something. It was in like Europe and Japan, maybe it was in the United States, but Sonic Eraser was apparently one of those games only available on that service in Japan, I believe. It's a shitty puzzle game. It's basically just a shitty version of Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. So, yeah. Waku Waku Sonic Patrol Car. You know what? It's just another wacky Japanese game. As all of these are, really. No, but, it was cool to finally play the emulated version, because, it was only just recently emulated. you know, it's not really like fun to play because you're just playing like a little arcade attraction on your computer, but for what it's worth, it's cool, and props to the guy that was able to port it to, you know, be emulated. Sonic 2 for the Master System, again, kind of like how I feel with Sonic 1. It's much harder, and you know, it doesn't really leave an impression on me. It's just kind of like a lot of these games on the list. It just kind of exists. For better or for worse, that's kind of up to you to decide. Sonic 2 for the Genesis. Now, I love this game. It's my personal favorite of the classic trilogy and Knuckles and CD, if you want to count that. It's fantastic. I love playing it. I could pick up and play it, you know, pretty much whenever. It's fun. Levels are awesome. Great soundtrack. Great game. It's my favorite of the Genesis trilogy. Now, Sonic CD, I don't really like that much. It's weird because, you know, like a good handful of years ago, it felt like Sonic CD was like a really loved game, and a lot of people really loved it, and if you didn't like it, you were weird. Now I think it's changed. You know, a lot of people do like it, but there are also a lot of people that don't really care for it all that much. I am one of those people. I don't really care for Sonic CD that much. I think the level design is really weird. It certainly feels different, and you know, that's evident because there was another team working on this game. It's not the normal team that worked on Sonic 1. That team split into two for Sonic 2 and Sonic CD, and yeah, I mean, you can see the differences just by comparing them side by side. Sonic Chaos for the Game Gear and the Master System, it doesn't really have like a solid identity to me. There's not really a lot of things that I could see besides maybe the sprite art style that I would see and go, oh yes, of course, Sonic Chaos. It kind of blends into the collective enigma of the 8-bit Sonic games that there is, aside from Triple Trouble, which I'll get to you in just a second. But they all kind of blend together for me, and I don't think I actually played too much of Sonic Chaos anyway, so maybe that's like, you know, that's why. But overall, I mean, you know, it's just kind of a whatever game. Sonic Spinball for the Genesis, you know what? I don't really like this game at all, that much, at all. It's just kind of weird. It's, I think, the first Sonic game that was developed in the United States, and it certainly shows in the sprite art style. You can see how it kind of is, like, Americanized in a way. It's fucking difficult, I'll tell you that much. It's so hard to get, like, far in the game. I think the farthest I've ever gotten is Lava Powerhouse, or maybe the level after it, but I can't remember for sure. Either way, it's fucking difficult, and I don't really see a reason to ever play it ever. At least for me. Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, I love this fucking game so much. It is maybe like the game out of all Sonic games that I can pick up and play the most. And I know that sounds weird because it's not my favorite Sonic game. Sonic Adventure 2 is my favorite Sonic game, if you are new, which none of you are, and you probably already know that. But I can pick Mean Bean Machine up just fucking whenever and just play it. Sonic 3 and Knuckles, this game, some say it's a masterpiece. I would probably agree with that. I don't like it more than Sonic 2. Yeah, you know, for a while, this game was also like claimed to be like the pinnacle of Sonic games out there. Like, if you didn't like Sonic 3 and Knuckles, like, fuck you, dude. It's fucking too good. Now, I really do like Sonic 3 and Knuckles. It's not my favorite. Like I said, I like Sonic 2 more. But, holy shit, man, this game is good. If you haven't played it, you're fucking super missing out. Go fucking play Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Sonic Drift is, you know, it's like, what the There's not much to say about it, because why the fuck is it even a thing to begin with? It's weird and abnormal. That's all I really gotta say on it. Sonic Triple Trouble, this game rocks so hard. It is quite a blast to play. It is my favorite of the 8-bit Sonic games. It's very well crafted. It's very just fun to play through. It's got some cool power-ups that are unique to the game, and it's cool that you know, Metal Sonic is in it, and it's got a cool art style. Very colorful, this game. Certainly pushed probably the Game Gear to its limits, You know, color was one of the selling points of the Game Gear to combat the Game Boy with its, you know, green monochromatic screen. So, you know what? If you can play this, it's on the Nintendo 3DS eShop, which I'll probably get it on soon, actually, because that's awesome. I could just play that shit whenever. It's a really good game, and I would recommend playing it. Sonic Spinball for the Master System, I have really nothing to say. It's basically just the Genesis version, but if not, maybe harder. So that's a game. Sonic Drift 2, it's the same as Sonic Drift, but they added characters and made some courses like not laps, but you just race through a course. What the fuck ever. You don't ever need to play Sonic Drift in your life. Knuckles Chaotix, I was actually excited to get to this game because I had touched it so long ago that I had no memory of what it was like. So I was kind of interested in seeing how it was going to deliver on that front. And it really didn't. It's just very weird, and the setup is just so strange. Like, the act system is weird, and the chained system, like how characters are chained to one another, is weird. And you know what? It's got good music. Tails Sky Patrol, fuck this game. Tails Adventures, also fuck this game. Sonic Labyrinth, I did not actually dislike it as much as I thought I would. Actually, not anything close to it. It's a very slow game, yes, and I noticed people commenting that it was because in the manual or something, they said Robotnik stole Sonic's shoes and replaced them with, like, heavy shoes or some shit. If they actually tried explaining it, then fucking kudos to them. But, you know what? It's not that bad of a game. It's certainly not the worst out there. In fact, the episode I played it in, which was Knuckles Chaotix and both of the Tails games, it was the best one out of them. And I actually didn't mind playing it. If it was sped up just a little bit, then, you know what, it would be a pretty decent game. Sonic the Fighters, I really appreciate. It's not on my like top 10 games or anything, but I like it for what it is, because it's got a really unique kind of art style to it. And there's no other Sonic game really like it, because there was never really an arcade Sonic game released like this. It was kind of a gem of its era, if that makes any sense. You know, for a while I thought it was just kind of you mash buttons and you win. There are some deep combos actually to learn in this game, and I would say that if you could sit down and play this game with one of your buddies or something, I would say definitely do that. It's probably a lot of fun with another person. Sonic 3D Blast is like Sonic Labyrinth in the way that it is set up. It's, you know, in Sonic Labyrinth you collect 3 keys to get to the goal. You could always walk by the goal, but you can only get through it if you have all the items. Sonic 3D Blast works the exact same way. You are going around a level, you can always go near the goal ring, but you can only go through it if you have all the, however, I think 5 flickies, or I can't remember how many you need. It's faster, it's actually too fast, and it's too slippery. You know, if Sonic 3D Blast was a little slower and a little tighter in controls, it would actually be not that bad. Similar to how Sonic Labyrinth is too slow. If there was some happy medium between the two that they could both have, then they would both be much better games, but sadly, that is not the case. Sonic Blast, the last game released for the Game Gear, Sonic-wise anyway. It is an interesting little game. It has like a kind of pseudo 3D art style to it, similar to like, you know, Donkey Kong Country and shit. And it's just kind of there. It's just a game that is existing and for no reason, really. Sonic R is quite an interesting piece of Sonic game. It's unlike any other. The graphics are very kind of, you know, it's a 3D game, but it wasn't like, you know, a 3D Sonic game. But the models and everything were 3D, and they were classic models, so you can see, like, you know, Sonic and Tails and Knuckles and all the other characters, like classic versions in 3D. And that is kind of cool. It has a certain charm to it, I'm not gonna lie. And it's not the worst out there, but I certainly wouldn't ever pick it up to play just on my own time. That brings us to Sonic Adventure, the first true 3D Sonic game. And my opinions of this game have changed over the course of time. You know, I think I felt when I was younger and I was starting to get way more into Sonic, I think I felt the need to like this game and to, you know, appreciate it for what it was worth. It's before I started, you know, straying away from following opinions and stuff like that. I think a lot of, you know, younger Sonic fans and fans of anything in general, young people in general are just very impressionable. That's why the Sonic fan base is like, if anyone with a large amount of subscribers can say Sonic Adventure 2 is a bad game, everyone jumps on the fucking bandwagon for it. So, you know, for the longest time, this game was deemed as good, and most Sonic fans would probably say that it is. I think it's average, but I can totally appreciate what it did. I don't think it's that good anymore just because of how well it hasn't aged, or how poorly it's aged, rather. You know, the gameplay style with Sonic is certainly improved in later games, Adventure 2 being my go-to example. And the dialogue and the cutscenes are weird, but it's got an amazing soundtrack, and some levels from it are really fun to play. Most of the gameplay styles, other than like Sonic, I don't really like that much. Especially Amy. I think Amy's the absolute worst in that game. Yes, I would play Big over Amy for sure, because it's shorter. Sonic Adventure, to me, as a whole, has aged pretty badly, but I'm not trying to shit on the game at all. I can still absolutely appreciate what it did for Sonic as a whole. You know, when the game came out, it was obviously revolutionary. I totally respect what it's doing, and it's lower on my top 10 games. I think it's number 9. So it's still there. Sonic Adventure is still awesome. I just don't like it as much as I used to. Sonic Pocket Adventure is a very strange, interesting game. I know I've called a lot of games on this interesting, and you know, I think every Sonic game is interesting in its own regard, because so many of them bring a lot of different things to the table, or just are different in being them on themselves. So, Sonic Pocket Adventure is basically like Sega came out in this new generation of games, made a 3D Sonic game, but then also released this like sly little 2D platformer exactly like the old ones under the table. And if you think Sonic 4 is like copying old games, Sonic Pocket Adventure is literally just like old levels with new level design and remixed Sonic 3 and Knuckles music. It's really strange. I would certainly say check it out. It is not worth the 10 out of 10 that it has on whatever website it has a 10 out of 10 on. It's interesting though. Sonic Shuffle, basically Sonic Mario Party, just not as good. It's weird and it's strange. Sonic Shuffle is just a weird game that no one ever talks about, and for good reason. It's kind of just another, oh, it's their game, but apparently it had a story mode. I don't know, whatever. Sonic Adventure 2, I don't think I need to say anything really about this game. I did a whole video, top 10 reasons why it's my favorite game, so that's my summary of how I feel about Sonic Adventure, or Sonic Adventure 2, and it's not even really, like, it could be much more thorough. You know, Sonic Adventure 2 is a game I can pick up and play, like, anytime. It's the one game that I'm pretty much gonna do. I mean, I know I said Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine I play a lot too. It's the one game I'm probably gonna play the most out of any Sonic game that's ever released. And it's probably, even with whatever is released in the future, it's probably always going to stay my favorite. But, you know what? The ball's in your court, Sega. Impress me. Sonic Advance is awesome. It feels like a continuation to Sonic 3D, or Sonic 3 and Knuckles. It has similar playstyles. It's better than Sonic Pocket Adventure, that's for sure. It's a lot of fun, but Sonic Advance 2 is much better, in my opinion. It's a lot faster, but they kept a lot of the platforming. Advance 2 is certainly a lot of fun, and it's just really a joy to play. I have so much fun when I play Advance 2. Sonic Pinball Party, fuck off. I don't care about another goddamn Sonic Pinball game. It's whatever. If you like it, whatever. I don't care. Sonic Battle is a cool game for what it is. It's a very... I'm trying to stop using the fucking word interesting. It's a very unique game. I like the unique art style that it has for it. It's certainly, you know, like this and Riders and certain other games had very distinct art styles for it. And it's cool. I like it. It's a fun game. It was number 10 on my top 10 favorite games. However, after a while, it gets old for sure. Like, there's only so many... I would not recommend playing this all in like one go, because you'll get really fucking bored of it probably. But for what it's worth, it's fun, and whatever. You can't really fault it for being much. It's just a spin-off game. Sonic Heroes is a very split game, I find. Some people really, like half the Sonic fan... Actually, I think I'd say more of the half of the Sonic fan base really likes this game. I think the general consensus on this game is that people really fucking like it. Now, I don't really. It's just... I don't know. It's cool how they had the 3, like, character system in it and how they played around with it. And it was certainly a worthy game to be, like, the first game on, like, all 3 platforms, which it was. I don't find the control that great. The levels are way too fucking long for me. For my taste. The soundtrack is good, not great, not in my opinion. Overall, Sonic Heroes, I'm just kind of indifferent to. I don't really like it, but I respect the fact that a lot of other people do, and that's great. If you like a game, don't let anyone really change your mind about it. Maybe, like, be open to other ideas, and, you know, maybe change your mind. If you ever change your mind on something, let it be your own doing. Never let it be someone else telling you, no, your opinion's wrong, this is why you need to change it. So don't let that ever happen. Don't let me disliking Heroes let you, or make you dislike Heroes anymore. You know, in fact, let it have you like Sonic Heroes even more. You know, it's all about, you know, everyone's opinion is their own opinion, and everyone should respect that. Meanwhile, Sonic Advance 3, I think it's a shit game. Fucking stupid ass goddamn stupid fucking Sonic Advance fucking 3. Whatever, I don't really like this game. It was a bad send-off to the Advance series as a whole. And whatever. Shadow the Hedgehog is, you know, Shadow was a main character in Sonic Adventure 2, and then he had his arc in Sonic Heroes, and then he got his own game. So this was kind of the ending to his complete story arc, but it is not that good. It was very edgy. It feels weird because 4Kids was so adamant about, like, censoring stuff and, like, rewriting stuff to make it appropriate for kids. Meanwhile, the actual 4Kids cast comes along and just, like, fucking damn it, hell, goddamn, fuck. And having guns and shit. So it's very juxtapositioned when put next to really any other Sonic game. It's a strange little creation from, whatever, 2005 when it was released, I think? Anyway, whatever. Meanwhile, Sonic fucking Rush, this game, my favorite of the Nintendo DS Sonic games. I was about to say my favorite handheld game, but that's not true at all. Sonic Advance 2 is my favorite handheld Sonic game. But in terms of the DS games alone, Sonic Rush takes the cake. It's a lot of fun. Level designs, so great. Super distinct soundtrack, and it introduced Blaze, so there you go. Sonic Riders, you know, a lot of people tell me that this game is better than the second one, Zero Gravity, and I don't have as much fun playing Riders. I feel like I never really got to learn the game perfectly, like 100%, and I hear it has a really steep learning curve, and that's probably why I feel that way. So, you know what? Maybe I'll give it more chances in the future, but as of right now, it's like, Sonic Riders, sure, you know what? Fine. If you say it's better than Zero Gravity, that's okay. It probably is. If you get really good at Riders, then Zero Gravity is probably not that better. You know, it's probably the first one's better. But you shouldn't have to master a game for it to be fun. Sonic the Hedgehog 2006. Now, it has apparently become a cool thing in the year 2016 to fucking defend this game and say it's good and underrated, and it is a good game. It's not a fucking finished game, alright? It's... look, earlier I said if you like a game, don't let anyone tell you otherwise. This is just my opinion. In my opinion, it's like, it's not a finished game, and it's just inherently bad, and look, I can appreciate what it was doing with story and stuff. It was certainly an ambitious title. It just didn't get enough time to be worked on, and there were a lot of questionable decisions made along the way. That's pretty much my summary of Sonic 06. Sonic and the Secret Rings, I fucking hate this game. Motion controls have never sucked more. I fucking cannot stand playing this game. It was the worst, and I hope I never have to touch it again. Rush Adventure, you know what? Gameplay-wise, it's very similar to Sonic Rush, and it even has a similar kind of sound to its soundtrack. But I think, for me personally, watering it down with, well, maybe not even, maybe the opposite of watering it down, actually. Building on top of so much, you know, having so much of the story and so much of the material parts and the boating parts and stuff, that, it's not for me. That made me like it a lot less. But, you know what? Whatever. So I'm going to go ahead and summarize all 3 Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games titles that I played into just this one summary of them all. You know, I'm sure if you played them with some friends one night at like a party or something, it'd be kind of fun. But it's really just, it's a novelty game. I'm still kind of amazed that they're coming out with more of them. It seems like they just exist, and they just keep coming out, and people just buy them for whatever reason. And there's weird mini games, and they don't control well. You know, I'm not someone that likes motion controls as a whole, so a whole game series just using motion controls is like, all right, I don't think this is for me. Riders Zero Gravity, as I said, I like more than the first Riders, but that's just because it's easier to play. If I got good at Riders, I'm sure Zero Gravity would not be as good in comparison. It's whatever, the gravity gimmick is pretty cool, I guess, but it's also kind of like, it makes the game too easy. So yeah. Sega Superstars Tennis is a perfectly fine little game on the side. It doesn't need any attention, but hey, if you ever play it, it's not that bad. It's, if you're bored one day and you just want something to play and you don't know what, and you're out of other options, you know, this game is good. Fucking, I mean, it's not like great, but it's something to play. So, you know, just have fun. Sonic Chronicles, I really want to give like a full playthrough chance of it again. You know, I played it, I got it as a kid, you know, in 2008, and I played a lot of it. I didn't beat it, but I played a lot of it. And unfortunately, it's just a game that does not work well inherently on the Sonic Marathon. You know, a lot of these games are you pick up and you can play a little bit of them and kind of get a general sense of what the whole game's going to be like. Sonic Chronicles is a very story-driven, slightly repetitive with the combat system game, but there's a lot of stuff you can do with it. So I'm not going to, like, shit on it or anything. I do want to give it a full, like, chance in the future. Sonic Unleashed for the PS2 is fine on its own merit, but Sonic Unleashed for the PS3 is much better. This is going to be like a dual reflection on both of them. Sonic Unleashed for the PS3 is my second favorite Sonic game. Absolutely fucking stunning, gorgeous. I love this game so much. The PS2 version is like, I've said it before so many times, it's a handheld game that snuck its way onto a console and just lived there. So, you know, the PS2 version, if you've never played any Unleashed, I'd say, I don't actually know which would be better, to play the HD version first and then the SD, or the SD and then the HD. I think actually it'd be better to play the SD first and then play the HD, so you go from, you know, not as good to outstanding, not outstanding to not as good. So if you ever do that, if you've never played either Unleashed, I'd recommend doing that. Sonic and the Black Knight, certainly much better than Sonic and the Secret Rings. It's much more interesting to me. The controls, I can actually move with a fucking stick, which is like a dream come true after playing Sonic and the fucking secret goddamn motherfucking rings. You know what? I'll probably play more of this game in the future whenever I find myself with a Wii and some time to fully play through and experience it and everything. And apparently it's one of... Actually, I can say it's one of Jason Griffith's best performances as Sonic, for sure. And it's sad that he had to go, because he was getting really fucking good as being Sonic. Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing is so much fun, I'm gonna try to not compare it to the sequel, because I kept fucking doing that when I played through it. No, but it's a fun game, and it's a fun little racer, especially with friends. If you can play this with like 1 or 2 buddies, definitely take that opportunity. I mean, if you're kart racing fans, it's really great, and it can get really competitive too. Sonic 4 Episode 1, I don't really care for. It's not that good. It just fucking draws on Sonic's old games. Like, hey, remember when this shit existed? I do too. Now, just make new shit. I don't want to see the old shit again. Sonic Colors I played for the first time, like many other games on this list. It didn't really leave a substantial impact on me. It was kind of just alright. You know, it didn't really, like, strike me as really good or really bad. It was just kind of, yeah, alright. I want to certainly play more of this game in the future, and I really hope they do end up porting it to the PC, like some of their other games, like I hope they end up doing. So, you know, when I play it more in the future, maybe I'll do, like, a full review of it. Who knows? I'm not really one who reviews, but, you know, someday I'll play through all of Colors and multiple times to get a good feel for it. Sonic Generations is a great anniversary title, and it was what Sonic needed for his 20th anniversary. You know, he needed a game to kind of revitalize the franchise in the way that Generations did. Now, I'm not saying that the games that came before that were bad, but Generations certainly kind of kickstarted the energy back into the Sonic community and Sonic as a whole in the gaming, you know, market and business. The levels are really good, and I like playing it, and it's honestly a really great game in my opinion. And yeah, I hope that future games are far, far, far better. Sonic 4 Episode 2 improved upon some of the things that Sonic 4 Episode 1 did so terribly. The gameplay is slightly better, and the graphics look a little prettier for sure, especially in the snow level where you can see like the amusement park in the background. But it's still just kind of bad, and it still just kind of relies on old nostalgia for old Sonic games. That you can't really get around, and you know, maybe it's good that Sonic 4 Episode 3 was in fact cancelled and not actually seen the light of day. Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed is such a fun game to me. It is my go-to like multiplayer Sonic game besides Mean Bean Machine. It took everything that the first All-Stars Racing did right and just perfected it and made it better. And the transforming gimmick isn't even annoying. I really, really like it. It's quite fun. And I wish they didn't take Big out though. That's probably the biggest flaw. And now finally, Sonic Lost World. Sonic Lost World is a game that I don't like. And I know some people do. And that's fine. Continue liking the game. For me though, it represents kind of a big misstep, and Sonic Team kind of losing a lot of the care that they had for Sonic as a whole. It plays too safe with what it does. It gave Sonic a run button, and that is kind of ridiculous. I mean, imagine if you were playing the Genesis games and he moved slow and then you just pressed a button and made him go faster. It's really strange, and you know, they did that because they wanted Sonic to kind of slow down and maybe put more exploration on Sonic. That's why kind of maybe the worlds are like tubular and you can go around them. Whoa! Where the fuck is even the Lost Hex? I'll probably do a video. Well, what I'm about to kind of go into my future, you know, like my thoughts on the future Sonic games. I'll probably end up drawing back to Lost World quite a bit because it's the game that really shows where Sonic is at right now. So, why don't we do that? Why don't I move into talking about the future of Sonic and the 25th anniversary game and stuff like that. So just for the sake of this video not being really, really long, I'm gonna split it into 2 parts. This first video was my reflection on all the games I've played. The next video that I'm uploading at the same time, just click the annotation here to be taken to it, is my thoughts and opinions on what Sonic should be like in the future. So please click that and finish off the marathon with how I think Sonic should be. I've focused all this time on talking about how Sonic was, so go listen to how I think he should be in the future.